It is August 12th. Oh, God, my youngest son's birthday, and I didn't wish him happy birthday this morning. Okay, it's Wednesday, August 12th. I'm joined by Councilwoman Jan Perry. We're going to go, Ms. Barclay, what I think we'll do, we'll go through items 2 through 8. Mr. City Attorney, at this point, we don't have a quorum, so all actions will be communiques from the chair. With that said, Ms. Barclay, if you could read item 2.
Yes, sir. Mike Barclay, CLA. Item 2 is a report from the CRA and the CLA relative to a grant contract with community partners on behalf of LA Streetcar, Inc. to assist with the development of a streetcar assessment district in the Bunker Hill and City Center redevelopment project areas.
Okay, as a communique from the chair, we'll adopt the CLA report. Item 3.
Item 3, reports from the CRA and the City Administrative Officer and a resolutions relative to amending and restating a loan agreement with 36th Street and Broadway Apartments LP for construction and permanent loans for affordable housing development located at 157 through 161 East 36th Street and 4775 South Broadway.
Okay, on item 3, we'll adopt the CAO report. Item 4, read the item, but we'll continue it anyway.
Item 4, reports from the CRA and the CLA relative to terminating an owner participation agreement with OmniNet San Pedro LLC for non-performance of development obligations.
Okay, that item will be continued. Item 5.
Item 5 is reports from the CRA and the CLA and a loan relative to a loan agreement with Amcal Multi-Housing, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million for the development of the Broadway Villas Affordable Senior Housing Project.
Okay, we'll adopt the CLA report on that item. Item 6.
Item 6 are reports from the LAHD and the CAO relative to executing contracts with selected contractors for the city's rent escrow account program and utility maintenance program outreach services.
Okay, on that item, we'll adopt the CAO report. Item 7, I believe.
Item 7 is reports from the LAHD and the CAO relative to the results of the housing studies and services request for qualifications.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report. Item 8.
Item 8 is a report from the LAHD and Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982 resolution and minutes relative to the Glen Oaks Gardens, Dana Strand Senior Apartments, Vineland Avenue Senior Housing Apartments, and Boyle Apartments projects.
Okay, we'll adopt the Housing Department report and resolution. We're joined by Councilman Tony Cardenas and President Eric Garcetti. So, Mr. City Attorney, the actions that we've taken on items 2 through 8, if there are no objections from any of the members, then without objection, we will deem those items approved.
And that would be to approve all those items except for item 4, which is continued.
Yes, item 4 we continued. Okay, that brings us to item 1. Ms. Barclay, if you could read item 1.
Item 1 is reports from the Community Redevelopment Agency and the Chief Legislative Analyst relative to a disposition and development agreement and ground lease with Buckingham Senior Apartments, LP, for the Buckingham Place Senior Housing Building.
Okay, if I could get representatives of the department to come forward. Well, we only have one chair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Carolyn Hull, the Regional Administrator for South Los Angeles for the Community Redevelopment Agency for the City of Los Angeles.
Good morning. I'm Peter Harrison. I'm outside counsel for the CRA-LA.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
And good to see you again. Okay, who's going to, is it you, Ms. Barclay? You're wearing multiple hats today? So
You can let the CRA go ahead and present their
Okay.
report.
Okay. Okay. The item before you today is a DDA, which aims to achieve several key CRA and city objectives. If tax credit financing is awarded, the 70-unit senior housing project on the site will be completed and placed into operation. As we all know, this has been...
When?
The schedule here is if we are successful in getting tax credits, the developer, which is Meta Housing, applied for the tax credits in the June round. It is our understanding that by September, we will know whether the tax credits have been received or not. And if that is the case, we believe that we can have the building completed within the next 9 months or so? 9 months after that. And the developer, Meta Housing, is here as well.
Oh, good.
So we have chosen a very high, as I indicated, a highly capable developer with a long track record of success to complete and operate the housing project. That developer, as I indicated, is Meta Housing. The CRA, this action is very important because the CRA will be relieved of its obligation to repay an $8.5 million HUD loan up to the project once it is placed into operation. HUD has given us a deadline of 24 months to complete the project. As you are all aware, the City Council approved a loan on this project in 2003. So HUD is looking, and rightfully so, for us to complete the project in a timely fashion, and that is our objective. This action before you today will free CRA from multiple lawsuits filed in connection with the failure of this project to be completed. The CRA will also eventually be freed of a multi-million-dollar bank trust. Currently, the Hominy Bank is the construction lender, and they have about an $18 million deed of trust on the property. Even though CRA foreclosed, it is foreclosed subject to their lien. So the settlement agreement and the actions before you today will allow the project to move forward with that lien being eventually reduced or removed. Any questions?
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. This is the senior project that was what, like 90% completed?
That is correct. The 70 units, actually initially it was 71 unit building, was about 90% complete when the original developer was unable to complete the building and thus lost their commitment for tax credits. What subsequently happened was that the CRA was going to foreclose subject to Hominy Bank's lien. We had worked through an agreement with Hominy Bank to move forward to complete the building in a timely fashion. That foreclosure sale was scheduled on July 10th, I believe, of 2008. On July 3rd of 2008, S.C. Anderson and other creditors filed an involuntary bankruptcy, which stayed the project. There could be no action. And from that point till now, we've been working through a settlement agreement with all the parties so that we could get to a point where we could actually foreclose on the property, which was done on what date, Peter?
The foreclosure was in the last week of May of 2009.
So that allowed us, again, we foreclosed subject to Hominy Bank's lien. That allowed us then to have site control so that Meta Housing could go forward and apply for tax credits. Without the tax credits, this project does not work.
Let's have Meta Housing come forward. We'll make you earn your pay this morning. Good morning, and if you could introduce
Tim Sewell
yourself.
with Meta Housing Corporation.
What's your name again?
Tim Sewell.
You guys think you have a good shot at the tax credits?
Yes. We think there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding this current round. There have been a lot of regulatory changes, but we put together a very strong application.
Okay. Did Ms. Spear, did I see your hand up earlier? Okay, Mr. Carter.
Thank you. So there's going to be a restructuring of a loan on behalf of CRA toward the project. Currently, there's $8.5 million, and I'm looking at my notes, and then there's another $500,000 so that they could finish the work that needs to be done, the developer.
Yes, there's $8.5 million of federal funds that were already dispersed into the project. So there's $500,000 of new funds that CRA is putting into the project. Those funds are coming from the South Los Angeles regions and project areas. That $500,000 is really being earmarked to do things that the community has requested of us, such as paint the building, and to do some other, the building has laid vacant for years at this point.
Yeah, I hear it's very ugly. But basically, I'm looking at my notes, and it says an agency loan in the amount of $9 million. It says consisting of an $8.5 million existing acquisition loan and an additional $500,000 loan proposed in this report.
Right, that's the 8.5 plus the 500,000.
Oh, no, the 8.5
So
is
it's
actually...
one loan or it's two loans?
It's one loan that has two components.
Okay,
And the first component is $8.5 million, which is actually CRA financing for the acquisition of the existing improvements by Meta Housing. And the other $500,000 is the new funds that are going to be used for construction purposes.
and for example, it's one loan in the sense that they'll make one payment to satisfy that debt of $9 million total, or they'll be making two payments to two different entities?
That would be treated as one
Okay.
unified.
That's why I called it a restructuring, because usually when you add on any other principal or interest or any other elements to an existing loan, that's usually restructuring, but for some reason, you're describing it very differently.
Yeah, it's not an existing loan. The $8.5 million does not represent an existing loan. It represents the purchase price for the existing improvements on the property, which CRA is financing. It's going to be the execution and delivery of a note.
So the $8.5 million is so Meta can technically purchase?
The existing improvements on the property, that's correct.
Oh, okay. And then, okay. And also it says that a $2.7 million permanent loan, what's that?
We expect that there will be a permanent loan when the construction is finalized. We don't know what amount that will be. I think the 2.7 is supposed to recognize the commitment of Homni Bank to fund the additional construction on the property to the tune of approximately $2.7 to $3 million.
Okay.
And I'll
Yeah.
jump in here, and the 2.7 is essentially supported by project cash flows. So it's technically a mortgage that the project can support based on the affordability levels of the units that we're going to
Okay.
be building or completing.
And all of these figures are figures that Meta Housing came up with, or the department came up with, and Meta Housing agrees that those are the numbers that are
We
accurate?
worked with the agency to develop a pro forma that we thought was competitive in the tax credit program.
Okay. Yeah, but competitive doesn't mean that you're not going to come back and ask for more funds. So that's my concern. Because we've seen, I think on this project and the surrounding projects, we've seen year after year after year, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, then a little bit becomes millions and millions of dollars. And when you look at the amount of benefit to the community, we all want it to be realized, but if we're going to be sinking more and more and more and more money into a project that only has finite benefit, then in my opinion, that affects the rest of the city as well, because there's finite dollars. Do you have unlimited dollars at CRA?
No.
Okay. I mean, that's one example. I mean, I don't think we have a department, housing, CRA, CDD, grants, et cetera. Well, the federal government prints money, but they're not even unlimited. But I just want to make sure that we have enough on the record so that people can answer this question. Do we anticipate that beyond these numbers, there's going to be more support needed for this project relevant to what's before us today?
And I'll let Tim respond to that in a moment. We have applied for the current round for tax credits. If we are successful in the current round to get tax credits, I believe we have thoroughly vetted the pro forma so that we would not be before you again if we are successful in the current round. But I do need to tell you that this current round is highly competitive. I believe normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, usually there's about 60 applications for 9% tax credits. This year it's probably 4 times that. So we're in a situation where it's very important to us that the project only works if we get tax credits, and if we do not get the 9% tax credits, we've worked out a deal with everyone so we would reapply.
Sure.
And I believe the pro forma before you today represents a 9% tax credit deal that would work, that we would not be back before you today.
Okay.
Tim, do you want to add to
It's
that?
not our objective to return to the city for more funds.
Okay. Hope we don't see you again on this one. Okay, thank you.
Okay, who's going to complete the 10% of work that still needs to be done?
S.C. Anderson's the contractor and Meta Housing's the developer.
Okay. Now, I think when I was first elected, or fortunate enough to get elected here, Meta operates, helped construct and operate a facility on Pico Boulevard in Gramercy, and they've done a great job. So if things go right, I think we picked up a pretty solid partner, and I'm sure this is a headache that Mr. Parks cannot wait to go away. So, with-
On that note, Mr. Chairman, I just also like to point out, I'm glad that Meta Housing is involved in this transaction and this project, because I've had experience with them in my district, and they've been very responsible. So
Yeah.
I think it sheds good light on this. Obviously, variables beyond everybody's control. We don't know who's going to get the awards, but I can expect that you wrote an application as good as any.
yeah, well, yeah, at least this is an optimistic sign. So anyway, thank you all
Thank you.
for coming, and without objection, we'll adopt the CLA report. Ms. Barclay, just stay there as I ask you this question. Is there any more business before this committee?
No, sir.
Then this committee's adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see, oh, did you have a comment?
No, public comment.
Oh, there's no public,
No public?
there's no public comment.
Nobody came forward.
And this is the last meeting, Andrew, until when?